Well, earlier I spoke to Razan and Bushra al-Akra, who are British Syrians and have family currently trapped inside Baba Amr district of Homs. Now, you have relatives in Syria and in Homs, or very recently in Homs. What are you hearing today?
As far as Homs is concerned, it's an absolute disaster. Just today there were 17 killed on the edge of Baba Amr as the FSA moved out and the Assad forces moved in. 6 of them were from the Sabuh family that are related to my uncle's wife. And 6 members of a family in Bab Tadmur were massacred today as well. The bombing continues, the killing continues. The news is obviously a lot less from Baba Amr as I used to get because the media teams had to move out and sadly they're killing activists, so it's a lot less than before. And
the difficulty too is that the militants, the people with the weapons, have themselves moved out, leaving presumably a defenceless civilianry.
They have. I mean, they were left with no choice. 27 days later, after they've held out for 27 days, which was quite difficult. The Baba Amr was being shelled from outside the town, so there was no sort of confrontation between the Free Syrian Army and the Syrian Army. But 27 days later, with absolutely no funding, absolutely no help coming from outside, they were not able to hold out for any longer, and they had to pull out.
So, miraculously, somehow, your relatives, some of them, got out very recently. What happened?
The process of them getting out is something they don't like remembering. It was the description was basically they left in what they had, so what they were wearing, that was it. You couldn't take anything with you. Walked over dead bodies, couldn't look back to see who the dead bodies were. These are just the ones that we've managed to make contact with that have fled. Other than that, I mean, we just read the martyrs list every day and see if there's a relative on there or not.
When you hear that the Red Crescent is going in tomorrow, that's not the International Red Cross, that's the Syrian Red Crescent. Does that bring you comfort or anxiety?
Well, I guess in the sort of desperate situation we're in, we'd like to see what they can possibly do. But yet again, we probably have no faith in what's going to come. I mean, anything coming from the Syrian regime is not very promising.
The thing is that Homs is not isolated. It's, of course, perhaps the worst that's going on, but it's going on all over the country. Do you hear any more of elsewhere in the country? Do you have relatives elsewhere in the country?
In terms of going on in other places, just today Dumair was stormed, which is basically stormed. They went in. You've got reports from Daraa every day. You've got reports from Idlib. And unfortunately, these areas don't have as much media coverage. In Hama, you've got Hellfire that's still being bombed. And they call it the forgotten Baba Amr because there's no media from there. And it's just, it's happening everywhere. There's no end to it. And I would say I have no faith in tomorrow's results.
Being Syrians living outside Syria and looking in, what do you feel about intervention? Because one of the difficulties is that the opposition, the rebel forces, are extremely disparate.
They are extremely desperate. There is no way they can defend themselves, without any help, and they have no help whatsoever.
But I actually meant that they are also very divided. It's very difficult to know exactly who you would be intervening on behalf of.
Well, the Free Syrian Army is unified in one way or another inside of Syria, and they are representative of the opposition, of the armed opposition. They're all defectors from the army. So really, funding the FSA is funding defectors who are trained by the military, and they're a unified force who are fighting on behalf of the opposition, the armed side of the opposition.
So I sense you favour intervention.
In terms of intervention, what we've made clear from the beginning is that we've asked for arming of the opposition. No one favours intervention in their country, but we've asked for arming of the opposition because our borders are not so great. We don't have really an ease of access. As you know, if Libya offered their arms, they'd not be able to come in. We want arming of the opposition. Tomorrow, Friday, is actually called arming of the opposition.
What do you think is going to happen if the opposition is not armed?
Just like what we saw today, they withdrew from Baba Amr, and this will probably be the scenario that's going to carry on throughout Syria. They'll just eventually run out of all supplies and have to withdraw and leave the people, just like what happened in Baba Amr today, to be, people were stabbed to death. That's the sort of situation we're going to be in.